Hey yo, what's up everybody? How are you doing? The Lagos State government just deemed 176 estates illegal based on the fact that a lot of these estates that's listed does not have an estate layout approval.
The Lagos State government has flagged 176 estates as illegal.
76 illegal estates.
Other parts of the state illegal.
These 176 estates were declared illegal.
This is making a lot of people freak out. I've gotten a lot of text from clients that I've purchased homes for. Thank God none of these estates fit into that. And there's just been a whole bunch of news article publicity surrounding around this. But in this video, I wanted to take you all step by step on the process that I used to get our estate approval for the Green Paradise project. So guys, this information is a very, very highly valuable information, honestly. As I'm gathering all of my thoughts, taking all of my notes on the computer, gathering all these documents and paperwork, I'm realizing that, holy crap, this is valuable information. But you know what? I'm going to share for anybody that wants to become a developer, build real estate, so that you have this information and you don't have to go through all of the steps that I went through. But before I dive in step by step, let's take a quick break and then we'll be back. Are you ready to explore Nigeria? Hey there, I'm Bayo Adio, a digital nomad on a journey to rediscover Nigeria and share my adventures with you. As a second-generation Nigerian American born to the United States to Nigerian parents, I am on a journey to reconnect with my ancestral land and share my unique perspective about everything Nigeria has to offer, from its rich culture, delicious cuisines, lifestyle, and also exciting investment opportunities in Nigeria's rapidly growing economy. Don't miss out on the fun. Subscribe to my channel now, and let's rediscover Nigeria together. All right, guys, welcome back. For you guys that don't know me, hopefully that small intro gave you guys a quick insight and summary into who I am. By the way, guys, if you guys are interested in joining our community that we finally got the estate approval for, visit thegreenparadise.com and check out all the information there. We would love to have you be a part of our community. All right, so now let's get back to the task at hand. So for you guys that are interested in some education, sit back, relax, grab a popcorn, grab wine, soda, we're going to be going through this step by step. This might take a while. Actually, it shouldn't take too long, but let's see how we can dive into it. All right, so the first things first that I want to talk about, by the way, I'll be referring to my notes here because there's a lot of information to just share. So the first step is, what is a layout approval? So a layout approval typically looks like this, and an approval letter would look like this with a whole bunch of stamps and a whole bunch of stuff. But typically it's a consent that the government is giving that you can go ahead and proceed with the development that you want to do. So this typically is required for anybody that's doing like any type of estate, subdivision, land development, commercial stuff, any form of urban planning, it's required. And this is required before you do any physical development. Now, this is like legally what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get a layout first, building permits, and then start building. Master planning is very important when you're trying to like develop a town or a city, because you can like proactively plan out like the drainages and the power infrastructure, or if you're going to have anything centralized. So I think master planning, having people go through this process, I do see the value in it. So essentially, if you guys are curious about if you guys have been seeing the news all over the place and you're curious about what an estate layout approval is, that's essentially what it is. It's just making sure everybody's doing the right thing they're supposed to do and how it connects with the big picture of the whole state or town or city, so that this person is not doing their own thing, that person is not doing their own thing, and before you know it, there's no sense of cohesion in the community. So that's what it is. Also, this looks at like roads, it looks at drainages, it looks at setback and other infrastructure requirements that's needed in the neighborhood. So it's the official consent given by the state planning authority, whether it's like Ogun State or Lagos State. And this typically would go through the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development. But there's a whole bunch of departments that you have to go through, like the Office of the Surveyor General, the Finance Department, Permanent Secretary, the Commissioner. There's all types of also other little mini departments that's, even the engineering department within the ministry would also have a part to play in all of this. But overall ministry that's going to give you the approval is the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development. All right, so let's dive in. So step one is to get the land. So buying the land, obviously you need to do your research. Make sure that the land is free of government acquisition. If you're buying a large parcel of land, most likely you're going to be dealing with the indigenous owners of the land. So you have to maneuver all of that. And the reason why all of this is important is because before you can even do this step, you need to show some sort of proof of ownership of the land or some sort of proof that a transaction has happened for you to acquire this land. So some people would have a C of O or some sort of title if it's on the land. Or you would, if your land doesn't have like a full title yet, then you have a deed of assignment. But that deed of assignment needs to have what we call a stamp duty. And that stamp duty means you have paid the government levy for the transaction of the land that's happening. It's like an acknowledgement. It's almost like the government is a third party in your transaction of that you have acquired this land. So they call it stamp duty in your deed of assignment. This protects against like future disputes, claims of fraud, all of that stuff. Stamp duty, that's what it is. So yeah, either deed of assignment or some sort of title would help you with that. All right. So now the government is involved from that point. They've acknowledged that there's a transaction that has happened. So once you have acquired all the lands, then you also, and you have cleared all of this, then you now also have to engage some professionals. I think there's like 3 or 4 professionals that you're going to need, maybe even 5 throughout this whole process. Number 1, like one of your best friends have to definitely be the surveyor. The surveyor is extremely critical to a lot of the steps in this project from A to Z. So the surveyor, first of all, is going to be the one to mark out the boundary, define the boundaries, define the coordinates that literally you are going to use for every step of the process throughout this. Number 2, a real estate lawyer is important to kind of like, I have, my business partner is a lawyer. So like to kind of help maneuver out all the other things like the deed of assignments, the stamp duty, coordinating with like the landowners, the transfer of sales, all of those things. And even like your taxes, before you can even go through this process, you have to show that you are a tax-paying citizen. So you have to have what we call, I think it's a tax certificate to show that you've been paying your taxes, all part of this process too. So all of that kind of plays a role in this. And then you need a registered town planner. So the town planner is the one that you're going to work with to bring your vision alive. Like here's where you want like in my case, we can say here, I want a lake. I want a walking path. I want like the houses to be on this side. I want a children's playground. I want the pool to be here. A town planner would help you. I want the supermarket to be here. Roads, all of that stuff. The town planner is going to like help you maneuver the division of the plots, where all of these things can be. And they also have steps that they go through in order to like adequately like get all of that presented. And then you would need a civil/structural engineer or both to kind of help with the mechanical structure and the infrastructure drawing of the whole community. Whether it's like the drainage, how does the power get into the community? How do you manage waste, stormwater drainage, sewage systems, all of those types of infrastructure. You would need all of that. Okay, so now you don't need all of these people at the same time, but for sure, the 2 people that you're gonna need is definitely a town planner and a surveyor. That's like basic. All right, so now that you've bought the land, you've done whatever stuff you need to do, whether you have a deed of assignment with a stamp duty or a title on the land, and then you've got a registered town planner and a surveyor, the next step is to now start with your layout design. Now, before you can do a layout design, you will first need to do what they call a topological survey. So essentially, and some people will call it topo. It's like a common name that they call it. So essentially what this is doing now is you're taking this land that has been like done by your surveyor with the boundaries and the location. Now it's now study the terrain. You're not going to study, like sometimes you have to do a soil test. You have to look at like what infrastructure is the land close to. You're going to evaluate flood risk. Where is high plains, low plains? Are there streams? Are there rivers? Like you're going to try to like identify all of this with the topo. So the topo now lets the town planner know how to design the community. They get to understand, here is the elevation, here is water flowing. So like if there's a place where water is going to like be built up, you know to not build in that area. That might be like a flood zone area, or make that area like a green space. That helps design the road and all of these things that you need. So the topological survey is extremely important to understand the flow of water, the terrain, the elevation, and all those types of things. All right. It also helps you go naturally with the flow of things, because when you're designing a community like that, you want to just kind of flow. Unless you want to readjust the flow of water, and then you can, at least you know why you're doing it and where you're doing it to. All right. So now, once you have done all of that, the town planner is now putting all of this in. Public utilities, where's the school going to be? Where's the market? Where's the church? If you're doing a small estate, all of this might not be required. But again, that's why you have to work with the town planner to really, really determine what is required for the size of my estate. I actually was talking to someone, although I tried doing research on it, I could not get the best answer. But a town planner told me that if your land is more than a hectare, then you need to get an estate approval. I'm thinking that might be the case. And in some researches, I've seen that it doesn't matter. As long as you're building a subdivision or an estate, you're going to need a layout, no matter how small or big it is. But anyways, you guys can do more research on that. Comment underneath this video if you have that information. All right, so after you do that, the town planner now goes and takes all this information in terms of the open spaces, the road network, and they now create like an actual like layout, which looks like this. Let me show you guys. I have a smaller copy, but I wanted to show you guys the bigger one. So you guys see all these plot sizes. So they now decide, okay, fine. This is where we should put the lake, because there's already a natural stream flowing through there. They will decide, oh, this is where the houses can be, green area, all of these things. They will put that. So the town planner would put all of that together. And when he does that, obviously you're going to have, and this is a smaller version of that. When you have all of that, you're now going to go back and forth with the town planner to make sure that what he's creating matches your vision. Like, for example, in my own case, I'm like, oh, we need more space than the regular setback because we want to put trees in front of the houses, or we want sidewalks, or we need like a biking trail and a walking trail, and maybe the width of the road. Are you going to have like trees dividing the road, a divider? You're going to work all of this out with the town planner in terms of accessibility, how you want the place to be laid out. And you guys will go back and forth on that till you finally like finalize your design. And then it now goes to the next step. All right. Now, and the town planner will be giving you guidelines like, oh, you can do this, you cannot do this. They'll be telling you like, oh, you need a minimum of this meter setback from the road. And you guys will work all of that out. Now, once you do all of that, you gather the topography, the survey, the deed of assignment with stamp duty, all of those things. You now submit it for what we call a conditional approval. So I didn't even know there was such a thing as conditional approval when I was doing it. I thought when we submitted it, we just got the approval. But I was like, no, there's more steps. But anyways, so you submit this for the conditional approval. And so they're going to ask for your tax certificate, your topographical survey, your survey plan. You're going to need like an application letter. You're going to show like your own layouts that you came up with. And then you have to do an environmental impact assessment, or like this report that we did. Guys, look how thick this report is. So this report is really going through, and again, you and the town planners, it's almost like a feasibility study. If you guys will see, this is also even stamped. So this is talking about like the layouts, like the community that we're going is like, what's the need for it? We're designing what the project is about, our goals. We're talking about like, you know, we're showing like a drone shot of the place, a survey of the place, the site constraints of the place, the infrastructure restriction, the road access to the place, the drainage that already exists, how we plan to build the houses, how many plots do we plan to have, what are we going to use the land for? I'm just reading this. How much pollution is going to happen when we start construction? All of these things, like this is like a lot of stuff. So yeah, this is like literally like a 100+ page documents that's showing the things. Like what are you using to build? So yeah, so this is just going over and over and over and over and over, showing everything, showing the location, showing the view from the map. And again, showing like is what distribution company is close to the land. You're taking pictures of the land. You are doing site studies and analysis. You guys can see kind of a copy of the topo survey. You guys will see those wiggle lines. Physiographic analysis. What else is here? Rainfall patterns. You're studying all of that. Erosion, elevation. What is this? Cross sections. All of this technical stuff, man. Design constraints. What are you doing for recreation? What is the estimated population of the estates that you're building? And then you now evaluate and rate the impact of the estate in the community. And they have like a negative, positive. Like for example, our own estate obviously is bringing a lot of positive impact into the community. Even job growth, in terms of economic growth, the value of the land and properties in that environment, the infrastructure that's going to come into that environment. We're going to talk about waste disposal, waste generation, air pollution, noise pollution, and how we plan to mitigate all of those things. You guys see this is like serious work. We're going to talk about the impact on the socio-economic development of the environment, the land value, the revenue that we can potentially even bring the government is there. So yeah, power supply, water supply, all of this stuff. So it's like you're writing a report to defend what you're trying to do. And you're trying to let them know that you are coming to develop this thing prepared. You're just not buying a big land and just developing without like really taking into consideration how it affects the general community. But also more importantly, this is very important, also how it aligns with the goals of the government. Because typically sometimes there will be like in Lagos would have like a master plan that shows like where the drainages are supposed to be, or like where the lagoon is, where the recreational center is, hospital. They will already have all of that. So when there's government acquisition on the land, it typically means government has a future plan for that land based on whatever master plan. So after you develop all of this reports, you guys see all the stamping and all the layouts here from the different departments. Boom, 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 boom. So it's not easy. So after you do all of that, then you have to now make all the payments. Like you have to pay a processing fee, inspection fee, plan approval fee, planning permit fees, all types of fees, if you guys know what I'm talking about. But the fee is going to depend on like if you're using it for commercial, residential, mixed use. For us, we have farmland, we have commercial, we have residential. So fees are going to vary. So after you do all of that, and you're now waiting for feedback. So there's not going to be a lot of hopefully for you, not a lot of back and forth. Hopefully you're working with somebody that's experienced. You've gotten as much information as possible to where there won't be. But some of the things would be like, maybe something that my town planner missed, that they will come back and say, oh, there's like a stream over here. You did not put like a bridge to go over it. Then the town planner would now go back and like make sure that there's a bridge over it. You know, those types of things. Or maybe something is shifting. Or they might ask like, what is the accessibility to the road from this estate? And then we now have to figure out like, maybe we should like figure out how to access the estates from this path. So once a lot of the back and forth goes, you make your payments and all of that stuff. And by the way, all of this stuff right now is like with letters. So they would send you a letter that they've acknowledged the receipt of everything you've sent. They've acknowledged all the documents that they've sent. And you just keep going back and forth till you get all of that sorted out. So once everything is sorted out, they now schedule like a physical inspection. So the government would actually send somebody to site to verify some of the stuff that's on this layout. They'll verify the coordinates, they will verify the boundaries, they will check for that you're not encroaching on government land, they'll confirm the terrain, the existing structures that already exist. And after all of this, people come to sites, verify all of that. They'll make sure that you're conforming with the zoning laws of the community, all of that. So they now go back and they do their own technical review, whatever meeting they have internally, and they now figure out if they'll give you the approval. So once they're satisfied with everything, again, I'm like condensing this, there's like steps. So once everything is good, it goes to one step to approve, it goes to another step to approve, it goes to another step to approve, it goes to the commissioner to approve, and then it goes towards the permanent secretary to approve, directors, all types of departments have to make sure that all of these ducks are in a row. Then finally, you will now get your conditional approval, which is so exciting because you've been working hard to get all of this job. And here is what mine looks like. Oh no, this is a letter. This is a letter saying they've acknowledged everything that I've sent, blah, 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 blah. And then I'll tell you what next step is you need to do. Now, the conditional approval would state that, hey, I have been directed to inform you. You get a letter from the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development. Say, hey, I'm directed to inform you that your proposal as described above has been granted provisional layout permits, which will be valid from 3 months before you get your final approval. This is like one of the most exciting news that I've gotten. I'm like, whew, thank God. So yeah, they'll put the approval number there. They'll put the approval dates, and then you have 3 months to get your ducks in a row, which I will talk about the next step. So keep in mind, this is a conditional approval. They now said, however, you're required to submit all of these things, like application letter, copy of the receipt of everything that you have paid, and copy of their provisional layout plan, 5 sets of the beacon sheet, which we're going to talk about, and provisional layout stamped. Then they're now going to request for infrastructure and engineering drawings related to the designs prepared. So that's wastewater management, water supply, road network and stormwater drainage, reticulation, communication and security, fire and safety, and a perimeter survey. So yeah, so they're saying that they are giving you a conditional approval, that your layout has been vetted and it's good to go. You now have to now do the next step. So, and then once you've submitted all of this and it passes the initial screen, you get all of that, that means everything is accepted in principle. You can now physically demarcate your land, which we did in Green Paradise, clear all the roads, do all of that stuff. And the next stage is now to do detailed engineering design. Keep in mind that after you get this conditional approval, legally speaking, you cannot start any physical construction yet till you get your final approval. You can just clear roads, you can mark out your plots, you can do all types of stuff. You can even do provisional allocation, actually. And provisional allocation means you're allocating the land to the client pending when you get final approval, because it means things might still shift and change. But, you know, sometimes developers are on pressure because people paid for the land and they just want the land allocated to them ASAP. But again, some people have went through this process, but some people are still, before they even start selling. Ideally, that's the best way to go. But we know that's not practical in a place like Nigeria where easy access to funds is not easily available. So most of the times you have to raise money from the people who want to buy and then use that to complete your process. That's just the way a lot of developers do things now. And it's important to have the flexibility to do that. If developers are a different breed, like we would not have a lot of houses and stuff to do if they're not like really trying to figure out how to like get all of these things done, especially on the money aspect. So anyway, so now we have gotten our conditional approval. The next step is to now start the process of the final approval. So what are you going to need to get your final approval? You're going to need engineering drawings. And these engineering drawings are going to include road design, cross-sections, levels, materials, drainage layouts, water supply network, electrical power distribution, street lighting plans, sewage, septic tanks, and a beacon sheet. So let's go through all of these one by one. I even have a stamped infrastructure plan. You guys see this? They stamped it here. There's a stamp here. It shows who did it. The engineers have to stamp it. So again, look at all of this. All of this. You have to show where the canal drainage is. A lot of structure. You even have to show your gatehouse design. I think these are the cross sections. You have to show that you have specific places for fire hydrants and safety. What else is even here? A whole bunch of stuff, Sha. A whole bunch of technical stuff. Anyway, after you do all of that, then their own engineering department now vets it and stamps it to see if it's good. And then all of this include everything. How do you want to power the place? How are you handling waste? How are you getting water in the environment? All of that stuff. And then a beacon sheet looks like this. And this beacon sheet is designed. The surveyor would design this, working with the town planner. So essentially what this means is every single plot has a coordinates and it's accounted for, as you guys can see here. And this one has literally the size of every single plot. So this makes things easier for like when somebody wants to perfect their documents in the future, maybe they want to get a COO, and it makes it easy to allocate the land and produce a survey to give to the person buying the land. So all of this needs to be done. Once you do all of that, you now submit it to, I think Ogun State calls it Urban and Regional Planning Office, but I think it's still Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development. So after you do all of that, they now have to go through another process of vetting everything that you've put together, and they might be potentially back and forth again on the things that you need to adjust, on the things that you need to change, and doing all of these things till everything is done. To be honest, although the process is a bit frustrating because, things doesn't move as quick as you want when you're working with like a government agency. But as I'm doing this, I do see the validity in it. Like, it was good that I was forced to think through all of this before I developed the estate. I know it's something that you would have to do anyway, but I actually think it was good for me to think through exactly how are we going to supply power to everybody? How are we going to manage waste? How are we going to do all of this for like 300 people? So essentially, I don't think it's a bad thing. I actually think this is a good thing. All right, what needs to improve is just the speed of how developers can get things approved and verified. I doubt the only thing that's like a criticism in this process is like the speed at which things can get done. All right, so after you get all of that stuff, you write another letter again to apply for approval, and then they will finally send you, they will still come and inspect again, though. They will government officials will send somebody to site again to make sure that everything is in alignment with what the conditional approval is saying. They will come and verify the coordinates, and a lot of cases, they actually want to verify that you've cleared the road, and they want to see that the road that is marked out in this conditional approval is the same road that you've cleared. It's the same set distance of width that can allow for movement of cars. They're going to come and check all of these things. They're going to really double check a lot of your coordinates as much as possible, as much as they can. So they're going to do that. Then after they do that, they will now send a report, their own internal reports to like the agencies that handle that everything matches, everything is good. And then eventually you get your final approval. So now, this final approval, you get another letter. I saved this letter here. This letter says, hey, final layout permit on proposed residential plan at Aduro Village off Lagos Ibadan Expressway. I am directed to inform you that your proposal as described above has been granted final layout permit approval. Please accept my congratulations. Thank you. However, you're to sign an undertaking that the layout planning permits will be strictly adhered to, and when any change in the use will become inevitable in the future, you shall first seek approval of the ministry before such changes are effected. In addition, you're to visibly place a notice board bearing the description of the final layout planning permits on site, and they give you your approval number. Many thanks. The Director of Development Matters for Permanent Secretary signs it, and everything is good. I think for Ogun State it's TPL Adeni Abiodun. This is public information. All right. So now after you get that, now what does this mean? It now means technically and legally speaking, you have been given permission to like allocate the land and start construction. Remember all of these things, again, I keep using the word like legally speaking because I know there's ways to go around, but legally speaking, this is when you can now start selling plots, marketing with full confidence, knowing that you've gotten government approval, everything is good. You can now start developing the roads. You can start digging out your drainage systems, pretty much anything that you need to do. And also, this step is extremely critical in order to get a building permit, which is when you want to build a house, you also have to go through a process of like making sure that the house that you're building matches the standards of the government. So if you have this, it's way easier to get a C of O if you want to perfect your own land that you're buying. And it's definitely a lot easier to like get a building permit because all the information that they would require has already been done. This is the benefit of buying a property within an estate because the developer has gone through all the headache of doing all of this for you. And it's making what you're buying when you're buying a land like this, you're buying the headache. You're buying a headache-free environment for you to be able to invest and buy land because somebody else has already gone through that headache. But of course, they're going to charge a fee for you buying the land into it to accommodate for all the time and headache and stress that they've had to go through to be able to give you this property that's free of any government wahala. All right, so that is essentially the final approval layouts. They'll stamp all of the engineering documents and they'll set up an established official, your estates would now be part of the official state record. So again, that is how the step-and-step guide of how to get a final approval of the estates. And of course, they will give you all these stamps. Okay, I think I've shown you guys. Yeah, all the stamps will be done. And then you can now be happy and start selling. So I hope that you guys got good value from this video. I just wanted to take the time to go through the process of getting an estate approved. Okay, now that I've shared all this information, I do want to emphasize one thing. This is not as linear of a process as I laid out. Just know that information changes, the processes change. So as you're doing yours, just know that things might have changed by the time you get there. And just know that there's going to be obstacles in the way things work. And you're going to have obstacles, but just keep pushing it through and finding ways to connect and you'll be all right. So, but in general, these is the proper steps to take. And for you guys that are watching, there might be a little bit of deviation even in my own description and experience. Some things might come before another, but whatever you do, just listen to your town planner and they will guide you on the appropriate way to do this. Listen to your consultants and your town planners and they'll guide you to the appropriate way to do this because some steps might be needed earlier than later than what I'm based on my experience. Maybe because mine is coming in later because I was not aware of it till later. But this should give you definitely a good, solid guidelines on everything that you need to do to get your estate or development approved in Lagos or Ogun State. I speak for this region. I don't know if it's different in any other places in Nigeria. I assume it won't be that much different, but at least Lagos and Ogun State is very similar in terms of this step. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, comment on any of this video. If you guys enjoyed this content, hit the like button. If you like more contents like this, make sure to subscribe. And if you would love to be a part of this community that now that we got our final approval, that we're going to start construction on immediately, definitely reach out to us. We're selling lands. You can buy land for roughly 16 million naira per plot. You can buy a bungalow and pay 30% down and spread your payments by 12 months and we will build the house for you. Or you can buy the land and build yourself. Or you can buy like a 4-bedroom duplex on a bigger house. The plot size that you want varies. Again, we're developing this as a nature-inspired type living estate. So if you like nature, you like serenity, you like hearing birds, you like lakes, you like outdoor living, you like trees, and you want to be just like outside the city, you love the city, but you'd want to just be right outside. So if you want to come and enjoy all the city amenities, you can easily take like a 20 minutes drive to get to the city, like Ibadan is 20 minutes. Or if you want to come to Lagos, 40 minutes to an hour drive, you're in Lagos. And you can enjoy and you want to retrieve back to your environment, check us out. We'd love to have you be a part of our community. It's called thegreenparadise.com. This community is designed with the diaspora in mind and with all the amenities that we love in our community. But it's not only open to diasporans, it's open to anybody that also loves and appreciates all the things that's in this community as well. So the idea is to just create a community of like-minded people that enjoys all of the same things. So if you'd like to be a part of our community, reach out to us and we'll love to hook you up. Time is ticking. We really only have 300 plots in the community, and we've sold roughly 300 plots, and we've sold about 100. I think this place would sell out pretty quickly. It's not like we have thousands of land. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to us, and we'd love to have you be a part of the community. Again, thank you so much for watching. And remember, it's your time to rise and let your light shine. Peace.